stop searching for money and start searching for wealth. How do I become rich? How to become rich in the real world. You know that moment in Aladdin when he first meets the genie and he's surprised? Aladdin is not the usual kind of guy who gets a hold of this lamp and says this. Genie, he pretty much knows what he wants, and it generally has to do with tons of money and power. Oh ha ha ha. Do me a favour, do not drink from that cup. I promise you, there is not enough money and power on earth for you to be satisfied. Good? So, what's your first wish? I know a lot of you say you want to be rich, but what you really want is wealth. Wealth is not this, or even this. There's a lot more to it. Here's why you need to get wealthy instead of rich, and here's how to do it. If you want to learn more about topics like this and how to build your next big thing, be sure to follow me on social media. The links to how you can do that will be in the description down below. Thank you. Now, let's talk about how to get wealthy. First, what is wealth? Let's get this straight. Everyone talks about wanting money, but that's not all there is to it. Paul Graham says, if you're in the middle of Antarctica where there's nothing to buy, it wouldn't matter how much money you had. Wealth is what you want, not money. Paul Graham. But if wealth is the important thing, why does everyone talk about making money? It's kind of a shorthand. Money is a way of moving wealth, and in practice they are usually interchangeable, but they're not the same. Unless you plan on getting rich by counterfeiting, talking about making money can make it harder to understand how to make money. Here's the philosopher Alan Watts. In the early 1970s, he was talking with some politicians who were convinced money is real. This is what he said. Finally, I said, to the trouble with you gentlemen is that you still think money is real. And they looked at me and some of them said, oh ho ho, someone who doesn't think money is real, because everybody knows money is money and is very important. But it just isn't real at all, because it has the same relationship to real wealth, that is to say, to actual goods and services that words have to meaning, that words have to the physical world. And as those words are not the physical world, money is not wealth. It only is a accounting of available energy, economic energy. Again, money is not wealth. It's just a big integer in a row, locked SQL database, someplace owned by a bank, sitting in a server farm somewhere in the world. As Paul Graham says, don't get hung up on the money. It only represents wealth. Paul Graham. If you're focused on the money, you're going to get stuck as a cog in the machine. You'll end up focused on that next promotion or the trappings upward mobility. What is far more valuable is to create and own that engine, not just be a small piece of it. Second, focus on the skills, not looking like you have it. Now that the money myth is dispelled, let's get into how to create wealth. The answer is skills, and people get hung up here and try hard to look like they have skills instead of having them. Paul Graham goes on to say, the people most likely to grasp that wealth can be created are the ones who are good at making things, the craftspeople who can create it. Paul Graham. Being an engineer, designer, or product person is the easiest way to be a craft person in modern society. These are the next generation of construction workers of our era, and frankly, the future. These are the roles that are the closest to the creation of the product. I love blogging, and over time I have learned to build my craft. That's a really big thing that you and I must talk about, and that is, not all skills are valued at the same price. If you can do things nobody else can do, you will have skills that are priceless. And to be honest, this is one of the more brutal facts of capitalism. Van Itzk Rowe said that you can either live above the API or below the API. Then gets row. API stand for Application Protocol Interface. It's how programs talk to each other. And now it programs that are governing all aspects of our human transactions, business, and how we operate with one another. As a driver for Uber, you end up having to follow the directions of the app, which means you have to work below the API. It's useful work to society, but because there are a lot of people who can drive too, you are not using any special skills. If you create Uber and you own it, you're above the API, and you get to build and maintain the systems that give people what they want. What is most useful is acquiring skills that nobody else has, especially in rare combinations. If you can rebound the ball and nobody else does it quite the way you can be a Hall of Fame player, and that applies to all the things in your career and your life. Robert Kiyosaki gets approached by a lot of people who want to raise money for their startup, but you must know investors are looking for founders who have the skills necessary to build that dream. Why? It's straightforward. If I give money to a founder who doesn't have the skills, they're going to lose against the people who have the real skills. That's why it's so important for people to work on those skills before they raise money and before they start on their startup. Also, this is why good investors look at the skills of the founders and the teams they fund, not just the credentials. I hate to say it, but there are definitely people who graduate from Stanford, Harvard, Cambridge, Yale, or any other fancy university or college you know, who are not good business owners, sorry to say. And investors get tricked like that all the time. They lose money when they only look at the credentials in the resume, when they can't tell if someone is generally good. All of these things point to the same place. The best way to look like a good startup is to be a good startup. It's better to be able to build and have the skills of the craftsperson and a manager than to look like one. The third thing, principle is look for leverage. Don't only sell your time. You must transcend your constraints as a limited human being. Most importantly, this means getting leverage on your time. The Apple computer started almost by accident. Here's Steve Jobs being interviewed by Japanese TV network NHK in February 2001 after Macworld Tokyo. Interviewer: and there was no personal computer in 1975, which is very hard to believe. Steve Jobs: well, that's what we made one. We made one because we wanted one, and there wasn't one, so we had to make one. Interviewer: did you know that when you made the personal computer that this would become a major industry? Steve Jobs: no. It took about a year before we started to sense that. I had a partner named Steve Wozniak, who's a brilliant guy, and he did most of the engineering on the original Apple I and Apple II, and after about a year, we showed it to our friends, and they all wanted one. And so we were busy making these computers by hand for our friends, and it was taking all of our life and all of our spare time. And so we decided we better manufacture 100 of these, so we don't have to spend the rest of our lives making them for our friends. And that's how we got into this. We didn't think about starting a company, we were just doing it for ourselves. And then our friends, and then the circle got bigger and bigger and bigger, and now there is 25 million people. They were making computers for their friends, and then it took more and more time to create them, so they looked towards creating a company to save time. This brings me to the point that Naval Ravikant says, wealth is about positive sum games. Naval Ravikant. And that's about getting out of this sort of finite game, like selling your time. When I got my first job, I was happy getting paid a few dollars per hour. Then gradually, over time, my income would increase more and more and more. But what I wish I knew earlier was that I have a finite number of hours in the day and in my life. You can get to 60 or 70 hours per week of work, but beyond that, you run out. But if you have a product that can make money for you while you sleep, that's leverage. You can be a creator instead of a consumer. Most people are looking to mainly only make themselves happy by fulfilling various perceived wants that they think they have. But to be truly fulfilled, I now realize you must generate and create the path to wealth, which is through making others happy, making products, finding leverage, and solving their problems. Fourth, creating a wealth machine by solving other people's problems. I want to visualize a wealth machine. You put money in and you turn the crank and that machine spits out more money than what you started with. A machine like that is incredibly valuable because you can take the money that comes out and feed it back in. You can reinvest that money to create wealth. That's a wealth engine. A wealth engine is different because it provides both money and wealth. Now this is in contrast to a get-rich-quick scheme, which provides you money but no way to get more. There's no wealth. These are one-time things. Ferraris can be bought with money, but they can't be converted into even more money. It's money without wealth. If you have a business transaction that is a one-time thing that you can't repeat, that's money without wealth. There are also people who play startup, and that's when you can't make money and you can't have any wealth. These are a waste of time. Usually what happens is you hire a bunch of people, you spend a bunch of money, and it's all a waste. Investments are supposed to pay you back. Wasting money, by definition, doesn't pay you back anything. A special form of this is when startups decide to sell $20 bills for $10 bills, or even give them away for free. You've got to be careful of those. A truly great startup is both money and wealth. Money goes in, it can be reinvested, and you get back not just more money, but also more of the things that makes the money, and that's called wealth. You can couple this capital virtuous cycle with two others, talent and customers. The more talented your team is, the more likely more talented people will come to work with you. And when customers and users love you, they will tell everyone else who could use you that they should. And that's another virtuous cycle. More customers, and then all of that together allows you to raise more money, to put that back into the machine. That's what product market fit is. And that's the key to this whole startup thing. 3 virtuous cycles work all together. Talent, customers, and capital. Don't focus on the money. Focus on the wealth, the thing that people want, the problem and the solution. Here is Steve Jobs being interviewed by a Japanese TV network NHK in February 2001 after Macworld Tokyo. Steve Jobs. And sometimes people come to me and say, I want to start a company. And I say, why? And they say, oh, I want to make lots of money. And I say, forget it. That's not a good enough reason. Most people who start companies because they want to make lots of money, I haven't seen very many of them succeed. The ones that succeed are people that come. Sometimes they don't even want to start a company. They just have an idea that they want to express out into the world. And often they have to start a company because nobody else will listen to them. Well, that's all, folks. Thank you for coming here. I'm super glad you found me, and I want you to know, if you're learning about this, you're doing the best favour for yourself and the world. The world needs more people who are solving problems, and I know you can do it. It's simply going to take some time. If it's not happening right now, trust me when I say it will happen. Success is not linear, it's exponential. If you keep putting in the consistent effort every single day, things will change for you. I promise you. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. What would they do if they had to start over again right now? Thank you for watching. Here is your special invitation. Click the link in the description now to discover 30 millionaire entrepreneurs reveal their day-to-day to-dos for taking their business from dead broke to success in just only 30 days. The link will be in the description below. Click there now. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.